Alright, G.I. jokes. It's time to fall before the greatness of the Dreadnoks. Yeah, what he said. Buzzer, Ripper, be honest with me. What do you Dreadnoks think you can honestly do compared to G.I. Joe? We are a highly trained military organization, and you are just a handful of bikers. And even if that were all, we also have ninjas on our side. Oh, yeah? Well, I don't see any ninjas around here, do I? Well, we'd be pretty bad ninjas if you could see us. Oh, blimeys, they got me! No, Ripper! They got me too! What do we do? Well, we surrender! We surrender! See? Looks like you are smart after all.
Man, G.I.Joe Classified is a line that just won't stop. And because of that, we have plenty more figures to look at. Let's start things off with the line finally dipping into Zartan's minions, the Dreadnoks, who, before I got these in hand, was planning to save for last, given how much hype was surrounding them, but honestly, they really didn't hit with me, so I want to get them out of the way. So, starting off with Ripper, and he's looking pretty good in his dark blue jeans and camo tank top. Then we got his iconic red glasses, and this is where we start to see the flaws. Like everyone with glasses in the line, they are removable, but they don't fit on as tight as on other figures like Baroness and Slaughter, and tend to fall off a decent amount of times. They seem to have gotten better over time, but still not as good as they could be. But at least they gave him a very interesting set of eyes underneath there, with a teardrop tattoo, and his right eye being some type of prosthetic with a smiley face for an iris. There's something different, and do go well with his screaming mouth. On his back, he has this laser rifle with a bayonet on it, and it's hanging on by this small peg on his straps, which is a neat little inclusion. It looks really good in his hands, having him firing at the good guys, or gutting them with the blade. Speaking of blades, he also comes with this knife, with a knuckle guard on the handle. That way, he can bash people's faces in before he cuts them to ribbons. Also, for extra firepower, he's got a little pistol with another knife plugged into it, because a guy named Ripper needs to have plenty of objects to rip things up with. Then, lastly, we have his most well-known piece, the Power Jaws, redone as a single unit, instead of needing to connect to a backpack like the original. This is easily the best thing to come with this figure. Just looking at the giant exhaust pipe on the back of it makes me think of the disgusting smell of gasoline this thing must be reeking of. Looking at that exhaust port also makes me kinda wish they went farther with the update, and gave us the option of being able to place it over his arm, like it's a cyborg claw hand. And it's almost big enough to fit there too, if only he didn't have that wrist strap. This figure for me isn't the hit I thought it would be, but his good points still make him one I was glad to pick up. His buddy Buzzer, on the other hand, not so much. He looks even more like his vintage counterpart than Ripper, with barely any identity of his own, which is just upsetting, and his glasses are even worse than his partner's. They aren't even worth trying to keep on. They just look bad, even when they're able to hold in place, and his eyes don't have any cool details hidden under there either. That said, I actually tried putting Ripper's glasses on his face, and they look pretty nice, and seem to fit better on him than on Ripper, or his own pair. It's still not as secure as I would like, but this may be how I'm gonna keep him for the future. For armament, he's got a simple pistol and knife that I don't really have much to say about. He's also got the chain whip blade thing from his old toy, and I'm never really a fan of whip weapons that are stuck in one pose for all time, but the original was straight, and that way you could pretend it was some type of sword, unlike this new one. Now when it comes to the weapons I like, he has a baseball bat that has been modified into an axe, and that is just really fun, and plays up the Mad Max feel that the Dreadnoks are meant to have. Lastly, he has his chainsaw, and this time it looks like an actual chainsaw instead of a gun with a chainsaw where the barrel should be. It's a really well done piece, and it's hard not to have this be the weapon he's holding. He's an okay figure, but I think you should only get him if you're a super Dreadnok fan. Alright, now to look at my fellow Michigan man, borrowing a Transformers name trademark, Shockwave. Looking beautiful in the blue urban camo with small bits of yellow. Showing that when it comes to real-world Joes, Shockwave is one of the coolest looking there is. I know some people would prefer the gray of his Night Force look, but for me, it's blue all day, every day. Not much to say about his head, because like normal he has a balaclava on, but you can remove his hat if you want. I wouldn't myself, but if you like him like that, you got the option. Much like his Cobra counterpart, the Alley Viper, he has a big shield to charge at people with, and for some reason it has kill marks on it. I'm gonna assume those are more for intimidation than actually telling us Shockwave's body count, and to match with the shield, he has a billy club to beat some snakes back with. For further melee, he has two different types of knives, and I really like the one that is stored on his leg. I've never seen a knife shaped like this, a rectangle with a hook in the back. It's really cool and something no other Joe has. On his hips, he has not one but two Uzis for cleaning out those Terradromes. These are the only firearms he has, and I know some fans were upset that he doesn't have his pistol like the O-Ring toy, but I'm cool with him getting to go all Matrix instead. He's definitely a Joe like no other. Next, we have the leader of the G.I. Joe team, General Hawk, rocking his version 2 bomber jacket look. He's looking good here with his brown hair that's starting to go gray, and that face. And I agree with the toy YouTuber that everyone says he looks like, that he doesn't look like him at all. Now, we gotta talk about his helmet. It's a bit big, but doesn't look bad. I do like the little gold star on the front of it. I also like how his goggles came out. They did the same thing with him that they did with Dusty's, where we have a set to go around the eyes and a larger set to put them up on the helmet. But with Dusty, his helmet just didn't sit on his head normally, and we all had to put the small goggles on backwards so that they could hold the thing in place. But Hawk here doesn't have that problem, so you can actually have him swapping between the two styles. For shooting, he has both a shotgun and a grenade launcher, and there's nothing wrong with these guns, but they really feel like they're just here to fill in the box than to actually give us something we needed. He also comes with two different pistols kept on his chest and hip, just like the original toy, and honestly, he could have just had these and I would have been okay with it. Personally, I think he looks better with these than any big boomsticks anyway. Even still, he's a flawless figure, and a wonderful way to add the General to the Classified universe. Now, to cap things off, we'll take a look at the newest ninjas to enlist, starting with Nunchuk, the one member of the 90s ninja force that everyone seems to like, because he looks the most like a real ninja, and is done up in good-looking dark green camo. Honestly, he looks kind of similar to Kamakura, and the two look really good with Ninja Force Storm Shadow, who I hope will get repainted in the Shinzu at some point. Anyway, back to Nunchuk. The tails of his headband are a separate piece, so you can move them around. They will come off pretty easy when moving, but stay in when left alone, which is a good thing. He's also got another knife, because almost everyone in this line does. Almost like they're soldiers or something. And we all know Nunchuk isn't Nunchuk without his nunchucks. And these are okay. They're made of a much softer plastic, so you can bend them all around and also store them on the back of his belt. They aren't the best thing in his arsenal, but he does kind of need them, if only for his namesake. But I'm pretty sure when most people think of Nunchuk, they think of him using these cool-looking swords of his. They're a very unique set of blades that only he has ever had, and the little curves on the tops of them really make them stand out. That said, he does have one more set of blades in the form of these ninja claws, and these are my favorite part of this toy. He just looks so cool in these things, slicing through cobras like a Joe version of Wolverine. He's an amazing figure, and let's hope there's more Ninja Force in the not-so-distant future. And, to wrap things up, we have what I would call the best figure of this batch, with Agent Helix, a character who was created for the tie-in video game to the Rise of Cobra movie, that was considered one of the best figures of the toy line at the time, and was embraced by fans, leading to her being included in multiple comic timelines, keeping her in the minds of fans as someone that they would want to see return. She looks wonderful in her gray and black suit with the yellow sleeves, which may not be the stealthiest look, but who cares? It's a toy. What matters is that it looks the coolest it can. Also, Jinx's yellow outfit in Retaliation was based on Helix, wasn't it? I also want to talk about her hair, because they did kind of change it up a little bit. Her original look had all white hair with black bangs, and her classified version is more of a bleached blonde look with brown roots. It's not a bad change, it's just something that I wonder why they did it. Now, when it comes to her weapons loadout, she is fully kitted. For the time she needs to go in loud, she's got her dual auto pistols with extended magazines, a weapon that she was the first Joe to ever use, and I think she may be the only to ever have them, which continues to help her stand out. When they aren't in use, they can also be stored away on her thighs, and if we move over to her butt, we can see she also has retained her machete, hanging in the back here. It's a very cool axe-like blade, with some nice looking silver paint. It's not the most extravagant thing in the world, but it's a fun inclusion. To continue her blade game, she's got her set of twin swords that are held on the panel plugged into her back. It's the same set from the Snake Eyes movie version of Storm Shadow that also came with Kamakura. Dual-wielding swords is a bit overdone in fiction, but at least this set is pretty well done. And I bet if she didn't have them, people would have been upset, so here they are. She also has some new armaments in the form of these mantis blades, which are fully articulated, so you can have them facing forward, backwards, or even to the side if you want. And when you combine these with the regular swords, she just becomes the ultimate tool for sharp death. She's just a fun, versatile figure that really shines as one of the best in all of Classified, in my opinion. And if you're only going to get one of the 6 from this line, I say she's the one to pick up. Overall, this is one of the most mixed waves of Classified for me. The ninjas are absolutely great. The soldier boys are really good and have an identity all their own when compared to previous characters. And the dreadnoks are the biggest letdowns this line has given me, which is both a good and bad thing. Because if this is what a bad figure in this line is, then thank goodness, because they aren't really that bad. They're just not the smash hits everyone else has been. I do hope the other dreadnoks improve on these two, but they don't ruin the line in any way. G.I.Joe Classified is still going strong, and are still some of the best action figures in the modern toy world, and still worth your time, if you're interested in getting them. See you guys around.